The last episode of the Jackal's days is here. In this final episode, the Jackal faces betrayal not only from his employer but also from his own wife. In the previous episode, the Jackal successfully assassinated the billionaire, completing the last job of his career. Now, he is on the run. As he drives toward the Croatian border, a young boy suddenly runs into the road to pick up a ball. To avoid hitting the child, the Jackal swerves sharply. Losing control of the car, it veers off the road and plunges into a ditch. The violent impact knocks him unconscious. Fortunately, a passing truck stops to help. The driver manages to pull the Jackal out of the wreck, seeing his bloody hands. The driver takes out his phone to call for medical help until he notices the Jackal reaching into the car for a weapon. Terrified, the man raises his hands, begging for his life. The Jackal, showing a rare moment of mercy, simply asks for the truck keys and drives away. As he pulls off, he notices the boy's mother making a phone call. But there's no time to think he needs to disappear. To many witnesses, the Jackal ditches the truck, setting it on fire and pushing it into the ditch. The explosion wipes away any trace of him. But now, he's without a vehicle, making his escape even more difficult. Spotting an elderly couple camping nearby, he comes up with a plan. Pretending to be injured, he approaches them, politely asking for a ride to the nearest hospital. The kind-hearted couple, seeing his sincerity, agree without much suspicion. The Jackal has a way of making people trust him. They chat pleasantly on the drive until, suddenly, he pulls a gun from his pocket. Calmly, he informs them that plans have changed. They are now driving to the Montenegrin border on an 80-minute trip. The elderly couple refuses. With a slight pull of the trigger, the Jackal makes his point. Panicked, the old man has no choice but to comply. Hours later, they finally reach the border, crossing only to find it heavily guarded and under strict inspection. The Jackal immediately realizes that slipping through unnoticed is nearly impossible. Checking the map, he orders the old man to take a detour down a smaller road. After driving for a while, he suggests they stop to rest. He genuinely seems to care about their exhaustion. But the old man knows the truth eventually. The Jackal will kill them. He asks for a cigarette. The Jackal steps out with him. Facing each other, the old man hands him a cigarette and lights it for him. Then, without hesitation, he asks,
"Are you gonna kill us?"
The Jackal looks at the man's weary face. He sees a resemblance to his own parents. Firmly, he replies, "No, I won't hurt you." He explains, "You remind me of my mother and father. You're good people." The old man stubs out his cigarette harshly. "Then how did they end up raising a piece of trash like you?" Without another word, he turns and walks back to the car. The Jackal hesitates, but eventually, he gets in. At that moment, the elderly woman gripping a small fruit knife lunges forward. Stabbing him in the back, the Jackal pulls the knife out, stunned, looking at the terrified old woman. Before he can react, the old man tackles him to the ground. A gunshot suddenly echoes in the night. The old man staggers back, blood seeping from his chest. Before he can say anything, the Jackal fires again. There's no turning back now. The old woman trembles in horror. The Jackal hesitates for a moment, then raises his gun at her. Killing innocent people isn't something he enjoys, but it's too late for regrets. Meanwhile, the Jackal's employer receives news that the job was successfully completed. Impressed by the Jackal's skills, he nonetheless refuses to pay the remaining $80 million. Instead, he orders his men to eliminate him, using the police to do the job. The case is handed to Bianca, a relentless investigator who has been tracking the Jackal for years. She quickly traces him back to his home in Spain. Rather than rushing in, she decides to wait outside, hoping to use him to uncover the true mastermind. At that moment, the Jackal, using the old couple's phone, calls his wife. He dreams of a peaceful life where the three of them can escape together. But his wife, Anna, is beginning to doubt him. After a sleepless night, she makes up her mind. She enters his hidden vault, takes a portion of the cash, grabs a few essentials, and leaves with their child in a taxi. She can no longer bear to live with a contract killer. She asks to disappear. The Jackal, after blowing up the couple's RV to destroy evidence, assumes a new identity and returns to Spain. At the airport, he uses a public computer to send a final message to his employer demanding payment within 24 hours. His contact, Julie, relays the message, but the employer's secretary coldly tells her to wait at a hotel for further instructions. Julie immediately realizes what's happening. If the employer is cutting ties, the first person they'll eliminate is her. She hides and listens in on a conversation, confirming her fears. They're planning to kill both her and the Jackal. The Jackal finally arrives home. Bianca, watching from outside, sees his face for the first time, confirming his identity. Inside, the Jackal searches the house. His wife and child are gone. Panic sets in. Just then, Julie calls. She warns him about the employer's plan to have him killed. He rushes to his secret vault only to find some of the cash missing. Anna has left him, but there's no time to dwell on it. Someone is already inside the house. His brother-in-law, hearing the commotion, grabs a gun and steps into the living room only to be shot dead by Bianca. The gunfire alerts the Jackal, who quickly seals himself inside the vault, assembling a silencer. Bianca cautiously searches the house, unaware that he's watching her from behind a two-way mirror. A top-tier assassin like the Jackal has countless ways to take her down, but instead of attacking, he listens. Bianca calls out, saying she doesn't want to kill him, only to use him to bring down the real mastermind. She asks why he became a killer. For once, he doesn't attack. Instead, he answers. Bianca, sensing his presence, turns and aims her gun. "I like to win," she says. In the next second, the Jackal pulls the trigger. Bianca collapses. At the airport, Anna and her child board a flight. Seeing the Jackal's call, she doesn't hesitate. She tosses her phone into the trash. Back home, the Jackal, always calm and calculated, finally loses control. Enraged by his wife's betrayal, he roars that he will find her. Just then a car slams into him. Shortly after, a bus door opens. A man steps out, calm, collected, and unharmed. It's the Jackal. He has once again escaped death. The police have lost him. In a park, Julie waits on a bench. She hands the Jackal a newspaper, pointing at a man on the front page. That's the real mastermind. After an entire season of bloodshed, not only has the Jackal not been paid, he's also lost his wife. He really got screwed, so when's season 2 coming?